Ceremonies, Nathan Cassar.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Justice Planned Wedding Podcast Show, where we bring you expert insights and unforgettable stories to help you plan your dream wedding. I'm your host, as always, Nathan Cassar, and today we have the absolute pleasure of having a true wedding professional join us, the fabulous Beverly Simmons-Hurtado, one of Sydney's most renowned celebrants and master of ceremonies. Now, Beverly's been part of countless love stories since 2008, helping couples celebrate their commitment with joy and authenticity. With a background in hospitality, including managing hotels, cruises, and even a wildlife park, which sounds like a wedding all of itself, she's the perfect blend of event management and heartfelt service. Recently, she added MC to her impressive list of talents, ensuring that every event runs smoothly while keeping the energy high and all of the guests entertained. Beverly's story is one of passion and dedication. Not only is she the daughter of a celebrant, so following in her mother's footsteps, but also has had the honor of marrying several of her friends and even being asked to name her couple's children after their weddings. Wow, that is amazing. And if you think her story ends there, wait until you hear about the couple who asked her to marry them again after their divorce. You won't believe the heartwarming journey. Now, today, Beverly will share some behind-the-scenes insights from her time working on MAFS, talk about her personal approach to creating memorable and personalized ceremonies, and explain the value of being both a celebrant and an MC. From hilarious and heartwarming anecdotes to how her event management expertise makes every wedding seamless, Beverly is here to give us a look at the magic that happens when the right celebrant and MC work together to create unforgettable moments. Beverly, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Nathan?
I'm fantastic. I would love to know more because I think the first question I have in mind is, before all that other fun stuff you're about and the expert insights and everything else in between, really, we don't have repeat business in this business in the sense that we don't want to see our couples ever again. Like I tell them all, I say, I want this day to be so amazing and for you to be so much in love. I don't want to ever see you both together doing this ever again. So tell me, you actually had that happen. Tell us about that.
Yes. It was an earlier of my career, actually. So it was 2010. So brand new to the scene. Got there, got to do the wedding. It was only a little one in their bedroom house, actually. So it's like a 1-bedroom house. And Paddington, I got that, did all the wedding, simple, all done, no problem. Rings me later and actually says, months later, and says they're going for a divorce and what happens to the certificate of marriage. And I was like, nothing happens to the certificate of marriage. Nothing. So don't worry about it. Done that, all done. 3 years later, here we go. Ring up again. Yep, we got divorced and separated, but we've got 2 children now and we want to renew our marriage again. Wow. There you go. But this time around, it wasn't in a 1-bedroom apartment. It was a ginormous mansion in Paddington. There you go. A story to be told. Still simple and easy, but no one needs to know about that and who they are, I believe.
Oh no, of course. No, I wouldn't try for that information, but
no.
I find that fascinating. That is just genuinely incredible that I don't think many celebrants can often say that that's the stories that they have. So in their, in their history. So, wow. Well, congratulations on navigating what would have been, relatively interesting and somewhat tricky to make sure. I think any person who, with a bit of a comedic bone would probably be thinking to themselves, just don't say that classic joke, good to see you all here again, so
yes. Well, I mean, I could actually say, sometimes, have those stamped behind your business cards, and for the 3rd wedding, it could be free. But I thought, let's not do that again. That was the first, nothing the last that I've ever seen. And I know that I do a lot of weddings that are, it's their 5th wedding already. And I'm like, okay, I gather you did not go back to your first 4 celebrants prior.
Wow. Well, that is, thank you for sharing. And I'm just blown away that is something that happened to you. And look, at the end of the day, they must have loved you so much, must have had such a great impression that they were prepared to not only stomach the fact that you were there before it all came to pieces and got rebuilt, but at the same time, you're able to deliver it in a much more bigger, grander way than ever before. So I wish them all the very best. And of course, since then, it's been 15 years since that point now, and you're several more couples down the line online to the point that you recently have found yourself on that very famous TV show, Married at First Sight. Can you share us a little bit about, I think you're the second or third of my guests on this show over the last few seasons that have featured on this show. And of course, it continues to live in infamy amongst the Australian culture. What is it like working on such a high profile show like that? And are there any stories that you're allowed to share with us exactly about it?
It's really funny. I've done 3 episodes of MAFS, so I'm very grateful for it. And actually, the first time I've ever was contacted by a MAFS producer, they kind of ghosted me and left me alone and didn't text me. So this is the first ever. Then the second time around, they've contacted me. I actually had to say, hang on a minute. Last time you did this, I did so much work and you ghosted me. And I didn't realize that it was different producers every season. So there you go. I the naive person and behind me had no idea how TV works. And she was so lovely and she's like, oh my goodness, that would never happen if that was me. And I was like, look, I was just saying, there's a lot of work behind it. What do I do now? Is it going to go on? I guess from that kind of conversation, she may have felt really bad and said, okay, we're not ghosting her, we're getting her on. So that was actually COVID. So when you were only allowed to travel, I think it's 10 kilometers within the area that you live in. And you have to get tested for everything. So that was my first ever experience. And that was at the State Library. And I was like, am I allowed to go to the city? I'm like, oh, yep. Okay. Yep. I'm allowed to go to the city. COVID tested and everything. And so I guess the ins and outs of it, it's really, you don't have a sense of, you're being dictated by what to do. You've got an earpiece in your ears and a lovely producer comes in your earpiece and tells you what to say or when to tell the groom to turn. So I guess in terms of writing your ceremony, you do send them a draft of your ceremony. They do tweak it a little bit, but mainly they just kind of get you to read out bits and pieces of it or just, concentrate on the vows or just announce them husband and wife. So you don't really have a lot of, I guess, your normal stuff as being a celebrant where you normally stand there and talk to the guests, talk to the groom, make them feel comfortable. You kind of just stand there and nod. That's kind of really hard Nathan, you can relate to this. Us people who loves a chat to everyone and get to know everybody was a little bit hard. So that was the first time. And I think from then on, the second and the third one, you kind of knew what was going to happen. So it was like, okay, I know that I'm going to have an earpiece and I know I'm going to be told what to do, where to stand and everything. There's not really hot goss that I can actually tell you because I know, but I really wish that my couples, I was hoping that at least one of them would last past, I don't know, 4th episode. Like there seem to be really dramas to them and they don't seem to just keep going and fall in love really. But yeah, it's a great experience. And I guess for me, coming out of COVID when the world shut down and business was really, really, I guess, there was nothing going on and you had backlog of weddings to do. It helped me in a way to actually get out there and promote myself again. So yeah, I really appreciate my time with MAFS.
Yeah, and look, the funny thing is, it's interesting how you bring up the fact that it's so manufactured, which I think people expect, but I think beyond that as well, you brought up an interesting point about how it's so unnatural compared to what you and I normally do, which is to have a lot more freedom, to be ourselves, to have that personality, which I know that you brought in the presentation that went to broadcast, but certainly, we don't normally have earpieces with other people behind the bushes telling us what to say. We don't normally have anyone beyond the couple curating our speeches and so forth. And sometimes I know some couples are like, oh, we trust you, say whatever you want. So it's definitely certainly a very different environment, but it's great to hear that at least that it was a positive experience for you and, a great way for couples to resonate with who you are. And so knowing that now that you have had this wealth of experience, ranging from very curated ceremonies, quote unquote, on TV, to obviously the vast majority of them that you've done naturally as a celebrant in your own right. Can you sort of, I'm sure you've had some incredibly touching moments throughout your career. What are some of the more memorable experiences you've had? Can you, whatever comes to mind?
Yeah. I mean, for me, a lot of my, I guess, ceremonies are memorable in a sense, right? They're very different from one another. And of course, the couples that you meet. But for me, I absolutely love it when couples do have traditions and they incorporate that in their ceremony. People go, how long is your ceremony for? Is it 10 minutes? Can it just be 20 minutes? But I do love it when people have that tradition. And one thing really, I guess, a great opportunity again, when a couple reached out to me, they had a Parawa ceremony, a Sri Lankan ceremony in St. Michael's Golf Club, which is obviously out there, open air. And I'm still really good friends with these couples. And they've introduced me to that culture and how there's so much going on, yet they're standing in the Parawa. That is for, I guess, the older Sri Lankans or family members. It's like they're married. And then you kind of like come in and the sign is like, actually, wait a minute, there's more. Now I come in and do the civil bit. And that to me embraces a lot. And again, another grateful moment of that is being part of a lot of now that culture. And when they come up and say, hey, Bev, we're now doing a Parawa, but I know you understand it. And I do. And I love the fact that family are always included and parents are respected and they're there. And I know that all my couples do that and all families are important, but there's just a difference when you incorporate traditions into it. They really do. There's meaning to it. And yes, we can have a reading, we can have a simple blessing at the beginning, but incorporating some of the traditions and cultures, it's really lovely to do, or something different, like, having a witness as, don't have a specific witness, but have a ballot of a witness. So we'll pick up a name. Oh, pardon me, need my time. Pick up a name from the ballot. So something a little bit more different in a sense of how we could do that. But one, I guess for me, memorably is incorporating traditions. My background's from the Philippines, so I do get a lot of the Filipino culture that people want me to include. And I do love that because it includes not just other people, but longtime family members, friends that they've grown up with, and they call them uncles and aunties. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I've seen a lot of those things that you've described as well. And I think it's really nice when people incorporate some levels of personalization that, don't get me wrong, certainly very familiar with a number of couples who I know have been very staunch on the fact that 10 minutes is already too long for them, but I guess we have to incorporate the legal words that the Australian government says, so fine if that takes 10 minutes. But for others, of course, as you said, it's about, I think what's most apparent there is that you are willing to adapt no matter what. If they want a 10 minutes, drive through kind of wedding, fantastic. If they're looking for something that is a lot more personalized and integrates parts of their culture or backgrounds, family, friends, traditions, family hand-me-down sort of whatever, there is an opportunity for that it's allows it to be their canvas as opposed to specifically it being dictated to them, much unsimilar to how you were on MAFS where everything was dictated towards you. So it's nice to hear, of course, that knowing you and knowing how you work, that is definitely a big part of how you approach the role. But certainly for our couples listening, that it's just the baseline takeaway, I think, is if you want it, ask and we can execute it,
Exactly. Exactly. Even if it's like a simple elopement, I always tell my couple, I can't just let you just say I do in your legal vows. I still need to put something into it. We're standing there already. We're literally putting something element of it too. A little bit of personalization.
So then in terms of the process of actually allowing that, because it's one thing to obviously say, we would like to do this, Beverly, and you're like, okay, that's cool. I love that. How does it then go from being an idea to reality? What's the process there?
I guess everyone has a questionnaire, but I actually get to know my couple a lot more, right? So like as we're talking here right now, Nathan, it's exactly what I would do with my couple. We'll have like a great conversation. I'll ask deep and meaningful questions, and also just wanting to get to know their family dynamics as well is so important. Sometimes we have parents that may have, sadly have passed, and those kind of things. Sometimes people don't feel like sharing, but it means so much to them. So, jotting it all down and asking them, like, did you want me to say something? You don't have, it doesn't have to be long, but it's something that they'll be really proud of this moment. But they're watching over you and they'll be like, oh my gosh, Bev, thank you. Or like simple as jotting it down and also just reiterating, like, did you want to put this in? And I personally believe on no surprises. So I always send my couple a draft of my ceremony. So we'll all chat about it. We'll talk about it. They'll do my questionnaire. Yes, everyone has a questionnaire. But I also would put an element of, okay, I remember this from our conversation. How about adding this in? Or did you want to do this idea? Or, unplug? Yes, great at unplug. But do you want to have unplug at the beginning when you're walking down so you're not bothering any of our lovely photographers and videographers and content creators? But when you stand at the front, give everyone a 10-second warning to just take a photo and get aunties and uncles, iPads out and get that out of their system. And they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that would really, make Uncle Joe really happy. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's just do a quick 10-minute countdown and then 10 seconds, not minutes, sorry. And
Really?
just get it. No, really long. That's my ceremony. No, it's not that short. And get that done. And sometimes it's just switching as well. Like, Bev, we don't really like people who are having, watching us while we signed a certificate. It's just awkward timelines. I'm like, well, we don't necessarily have to do that. It's for photos and videos, right? We can do that quietly later on. It's okay. As long as the witnesses are there and people know that you've done your legal vows, it's, they've heard it. You can walk down that aisle, do all the things you need to do your group photo and everything, and then we'll just get your witnesses on the side and just sign it on the side. We can navigate all those, I guess, those kind of people's requests and also people don't feel comfortable doing this, or they've seen it and they're like, I don't really want to be that person standing and doing that.
It also sounds like there's a lot of opportunity to break the mold, even if they are very small things. Like, for instance, as you describe, couples who are, for whatever reason, it may be inspired to not want to do a signing process as part of the ceremony itself. And so they can, as you said, okay, don't worry, here's your peace of mind. Legally, we can actually do it after, as long as obviously we have the witnesses there with us to sign as well. And so it's totally fine to be able to remove that from the main guest experience and then do it after the fact as well. All the way to, of course, as you said, much more grander ceremonies or other different types of things. So I think a really great takeaway from what I'm hearing is essentially that, that traditional mold of, welcome, stand up, processional, love story, ring exchange, legal vows, custom vows, and then kiss and sign and off you go. Yes, it's an easy structure that can be followed and people expect it and it's fine, but definitely there is levels of
customization
as long as you're following the governmental guidelines that makes it yours, just makes it you.
Totally. Of course. I mean, the monotone and the legal vows, you can even just move them around in your ceremony as long as it's set on the day. But
because I've seen that too, actually, very cleverly done by a number of celebrants who will allow a couple to have that amongst their own vows. So it just sort of gets put in, sandwiched in the middle of that. And that also, from a celebrant's point of view, where they have to make the declaration that they are a registered celebrant with the Commonwealth of Australia, they actually will put that in sort of more, I've seen it done where they'll put it in a different section where it's not their entrance, it's not their intro to the part of it. It's just done later on because the Marriage Act says you just got to say it, and so it's clever, and it means that you're breaking the mold. You're allowing your guests to sort of go, oh, this is a bit different. It's nice. It flows nice. It's not the same one as we saw last week and the week before that. Now. Beverly, I want to sort of change tracks for a second, because I know that you've got a very interesting background, very similar to me in the sense that you know, the event management side of things, particularly working in hotels and so forth. And I love this because I know that this gives you a much stronger backbone and of sort of this foundational understanding of how an event takes place and where you sit within the greater scheme of things. But I want to hear from your perspective though. How does this background help you ensure that everything runs smoothly on their wedding day?
Well, Nathan, hospitality is embedded in, and I guess once you've kind of done it in a very young age, it's kind of in you, right? It's being organized, being patient, being supportive. I guess, as you probably, as your intro said, I've started to do a bit of more of an MC sort of role in the probably in the last 3 years. And this is just obviously generated from couples like, Bev, you already know everyone in our family. Can you just come and do an MC? And, you know, you're the pro at it, Nathan, but it's just more the fact that you know how an event would run. So being organized and making sure that, yes, there is timelines, but there is also that flexibility of it. And we'll always make sure that all the important bits of your ceremony or your wedding is captured, because you wanted those important bits. But the others of maybe we can do without, it's also not a problem, because then if you want to just be dancing for 2 hours at the end of the night, but because you're crammed up so much in the beginning, it's just navigating. And it's also being able to work with a various team, really, your vendors, making sure that you make yourself known, and you also make sure that you also speak to them and understand where they're also coming from. It's just all that relationship building. And, yes, about the photographers, let's Bev, don't, stay away when the kiss comes. And I'm like, I've been doing Celebrants for over 15 years. I don't stand there, but I understand you probably have not worked with me before. It's just that collaboration and making sure that everyone, I guess, as I walk around and introduce myself, I walk around and say hello to people. It's just in me just to just find out where people's from and what's the relationship with the couple, or why they're here, where do they come from.
No, I love that. I think what it really shows is that there is a difference between somebody who, and look, there are varying spectrums of people who are in this wedding industry and various different types, full-time, part-time, side job, just getting into it. People who've been around like yourself for over 15 years. There is a varying spectrum of how people come to the mix. But at the end of the day, there are certain things that, yes, come from a lot of experience like yourself, and like, for instance, knowing to step aside as the kiss takes place, and different things like that are generally expected. That if a couple out there is hoping for somebody to really be relatively autonomous, like yourself, you know where to be when you need to be, you understand how you fit into the greater scheme of things, then, finding someone like yourself is more experienced, and yes, potentially does have a higher price tag, but comes with that peace of mind knowing that you're going to be, they can rely on that experience and that expertise much more than perhaps having to handhold somebody who is probably a little bit newer into it, or not so much the couple having to do that, but a lot of the vendors having to be, okay, so I can see that you're new, so no worries, we'll help you along. But that does detract from levels of autonomy that I know a lot of couples that I interact with particularly are wanting. That kind of, we don't want to be curating you, Nathan. Like, we don't want to find out that we want to pay you because we know you know your stuff, and you're going to be exactly where you need to be and guide other people in that way. So it's really about what I find couples are prepared to yes, in some way pay for, but I think also too what kind of expertise you're willing to bring to the table. And that does come from people like yourself who've been around for a long time. Now, I've got one more question for you before I got a couple extra rapid fires and we'll wrap everything up. But I want to talk about, you touched on this about being the MC as well. And I mentioned in the intro that you've integrated it more so into your packages these days than compared to when you first started. And yes, it's definitely becoming a trend that celebrants are now more often than ever integrating master ceremonies packages, adding to their celebrancy work. So I would like to know, like, what's it been sort of this going on this whirlwind journey? Because I would always argue that the celebrant work is a different hat entirely to the MC work. But also,
Yeah.
like, what's your style? And, you know, what do you think makes a great MC? And what should couples be looking for when they are looking for that celebrant MC combo?
Yeah. It's funny, like, you know, I'm sure you get that as well. I mean, you've been doing this for a long time, and people do ask me, what is your style? And like, Bev, you know, do you do this and do you do that? And one thing I would always say is I'm not one of those MCs that would wear costumes and do robot dancing in the dance floor. There are those MCs that are so good at that and are amazing at it, but I'm not that type of MC. So I guess my style of MC, yes, it's kind of taking you from that journey from getting married, walking down that aisle to now let's have a celebration. As mentioned before, I like to get to know people in your wedding party and your guests, you know, immediate family that I get to do. Because then when I'm talking as an introduction, why we're here to celebrate this, taking the other hat off, and this is now the fun bit, is saying, oh my gosh, have you know that table 4 has come from South Australia? Let's give table 4 a clap, you know, like, come on, South Australia. Even further, we have got Africa, and now let's go. That's table 10. Let's go give table 10. So those kind of things that I guess my personality is getting to know your guests, trying to get to know them. So even though I do have my kind of notes, and I call them my MC notes as how I introduce everything. But as I go along and meet people while waiting for you to walk down the aisle, I've already known that your auntie has actually come from China, and I would note that down in my notes and have a more personable approach to it. Yes, I love incorporating games. We all love a good game, but also making sure.
You know, I do. That's for sure.
Yes, I do. I've seen your YouTube. But I also just making sure that our venue, our I guess our vendors, our MCs, our DJs, our photographers, videographers, everyone else is also on the same journey with you. So including them in that. So
I think that's really cool. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because I think at the end of the day, it's very easy for us to be very siloed. You know, we all are coming together. We don't work together in a traditional sort of office space where we're familiar with each other. Yes, certainly we're meeting other vendors who perhaps we've encountered before. I mean, you and I have worked together before, and we're like, hey, we'll see the next one. But yet we're not specifically working together as a repeat every single day. That being said, you're right. It is that you should be expecting as a bare minimum an MC who can bring all that together, not just from the guest experience, but then also manage the vendor experience, because if the vendors are good, then the guest experience is going to flow on extraordinarily seamlessly as well. And so it's like having a good foundation to carry everything else over. But Beverly, we are running out of time, and it makes me sad because I know that I love your insights, and I know that you've got such a wealth of experience in this industry, and I really respect that. And so I've got a couple of questions before we wrap up. One being, I would love to know your number one top trend that you're seeing this year.
Ooh, dogs. Again, the dogs are all back. Our fur babies are all ring bearers at the moment. And
so true.
Yeah. So, I mean, we love our flower girls and, our page boys and ring bearers. They're getting kind of put on the side, and the fur babies are all coming out.
You're not wrong.
As cute as all our flower girls. And as I always say, like, if they're young and they sit on the ground, they're so cute. Let them be, let the kids be. But so are puppies and stuff. So I do see a lot of that. And fake cakes. Yes.
Oh, you were so on point. Yes.
Yeah.
Funny because some people don't tell me, and then I go, okay, that's great. And then they're telling me quickly, like, no, Nathan, it's fake. We've got to actually cut here. I'm like, okay, thanks for telling me now, but it would have been great to know that before. So I'm like, yeah, you'll get to enjoy it. It'll be beautiful. And they're like, no, it's fake. And I go, oh, sorry, everybody. No, we're not serving the styrofoam today. No, great. Oh, that's so good. I love those two.
Fake cake. Now I always ask, is it a real cake or a fake cake? Because if it's fake, let's do it at the beginning and get it out of the way so they can move it on the side. No one even notices. No one even touches it. Yeah. So I guess you're
Bev,
still there.
why do you do this? Like,
Why
you've
do
been
you
doing
do
this for a long time. Like, why?
I love it. I mean, I know it's a cliche saying I do like my job, but I do. I really, really do. It's knowing, getting to know people. You're that one person that hopefully I don't get another stamp on the back of my business cards for the third wedding, but hopefully this is your, first and last. And, it's also like trying to help your couple not get that stress out of their mind. And I know it's always going to be stressful. Weddings are always stressful. Everyone's want you. Everyone wants, there's 500 run sheets going. I get it. There's so many of that. But I always stress my couple is that you've booked us because you trust us. So
Yes,
trust us to deliver what we said we will deliver so that you can just have a great time. And I absolutely love it. I do. I enjoy it. And yeah, I'm hoping to keep going with it. I really love it.
I'm sure you will, because I know that it comes out in everything that you do, Beverly. So how can people find you so you can continue doing what you love?
Oh, here we go. Instagram, Facebook. I've got my website, Google reviews if you would like to, or just pick up a phone and give me a call. Love a chat, clearly.
I know, right? And you're such a delight to talk to, so I'm sure that they'll have a fantastic conversation. Beverly, we are over for this, but not over for the next time we get to work together. So I thoroughly look forward to that. Thank you for sharing your insights today.
Thank you, Nathan. Catch you soon.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Just As Planned Wedding Podcast. Please like and subscribe to let me know that you want more videos just like this one. And of course, please follow us on our socials at Just As Planned Wedding on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more expert insights to help your wedding go just as planned.